It is time. Time for you to join me.
Literally, where is my EGOT? Where is my EGOT? That's the question that plagues my mind at night, is where's my EGOT at? Like, why is it not come in the mail yet? Like, where's it at? Where's it at? So today's video, if you couldn't already have guessed it, is none other than Stranger Things. I've had this video in the works for a while, mainly because it's taken me a long time, y'all. It's taken me a long time to come up with my predictions. I have spent the last week literally 2 weeks. That's why I've missed the last 2 weeks upload, because I have spent time and time again researching Stranger Things, watching season after season, rewatching episodes, diving into D&D lore. That is how deep I am in this rabbit hole. I'm online reading D&D lore. And no hate to any D&D players, but I don't know how y'all do it, because there is so much out there. And there's so many different like renditions of it. Like, I don't know how y'all keep up. But before we dive into my predictions and theories for the new season, I first wanted to recap all seasons really briefly, really quickly, just touching on a couple things, and even recap the first Shadow. So I did end up recapping the preseason and all the seasons, and it ended up being 17 minutes long. This video would end up being 40 minutes long. But for time's sake, I'm completely just scrapping the hours I spent editing and just scrapping the recap portion of this video and going straight into the theory portion, because I know ain't nobody gonna watch a 40-minute long video me talking about Stranger Things. So yeah, we'll immediately go ahead and go into the theory video. As we know, in Stranger Things, D&D, the show is heavily based on D&D. It's literally our opening scene. It is literally how our main cast describes what supernatural things are seeing. Also, to make this a key too, is the way I see the Mind Flayer as if it was consciousness that is tangible. As if you could take our consciousness and make it a tangible, holdable like object, like the Mind Flayer particles. And with that being said, since our main cast plays D&D and uses their imagination, which is a big part I'll come back on later, that's why they call Vecna Vecna. That's why they see Vecna. Like, that's why like they label the Demogorgons as the Demogorgons. And that's why we even see too in season 5 with Holly, why she calls it Mr. Watson, because Holly and Derek in their class is reading A Wrinkle in Time. That's how the Mind Flayer / Henry Creel / Vecna, literally so many titles, makes himself be perceived, is because that's what the kids would be most trusting for, is Mr. Watson. So that's what he does, because he knows it's a way that like you can gain their trust. Just like our main group understanding it with being D&D terms. But since the show is mainly based on D&D, we can look at D&D and understand that there's ways that we can actually understand the future of the show and character arcs and how things are going to play out through D&D lore. But back to the whole entire imagination. So we use the thing it or whatever, like all this stuff, and this is like a little sidebar. We all know in Pennywise, it takes the form of a clown to feed its hunger. That's why it's called it, because it's like an entity. Like it can be multiple things. That's how I view the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer, in my opinion, I think kind of like Pennywise, or it uses kids' imaginations to get like what it wants, to like help it achieve its goals. And I think the Mind Flayer targets kids that can break literal reality barriers. Like, it can basically, like, the imagination is something that, like consciousness, is something that like only we can form. And we can't really explain, or like, you can basically, I don't know, like, you, like, do y'all get what I'm putting down here? Like, y'all like understand like what I'm trying to talk about, like talking about like consciousness and imagination. Like, that's the whole entire, that's where I think it comes from, is the whole entire Mind Flayer is saying is he needs imaginative kids. That's why we even go back to Will, because Will is a very, very imaginative child that was very, very much into the D&D lore. But the way I understand it is we first need to understand what the Upside Down is, in D&D terms to actually understand what the Mind Flayer's goal is / what my prediction, theory, whatever for Vecna Mind Flayer is. In season 1, we basically, even before I even watched these scenes, I kind of already figured what my theory was. But basically in the show, whatever, we have the characters figuring out what the Upside Down is. We have the whole entire scene with 11 flipping the campaign board and shows that that's where Will is at with the Demogorgon. And later on, we have Dustin basically describing it as the Veil of Shadows, an echo of like their Hawkins, like it's like a cold, bleak echo place of Hawkins. And through my D&D lore research, I figured out that the Veil of Shadows is literally in D&D basically called the Plane of Shadows / Shadowfell. So in D&D, Shadowfell is a plane of existence, and it mirrors or echoes another plane, mainly the prime material plane. So let's say the prime material plane is Hawkins. Also in D&D, the plane of shadows in earlier versions is only considered to be a demi-plane. Now this means that it is a finite size and that it basically borders the ethereal plane. And I think this is important to note because there's two ways you can take this. Is the fact that it's finite, that would explain why it's only Hawkins, and that explains why we have like that physical border, that flesh wall around Hawkins that you can't escape. That could be like the border ethereal, even though the border ethereal isn't like a physical thing. That's one way we can contribute to it. Another way we can also contribute to it is whenever Nancy and them are sticking their hands to like that like weird like misty air. I think it's also like the ethereal plane in the Plane of Shadows. Basically the way I took it is the Upside Down is Shadowfell in D&D. It's a demi-plane that is a finite resource, and it's an echo of Hawkins. That's all we kind of need to understand about that. And also to mention too, people that can create demi-planes in D&D are sorcerers / wizards, which is none other than Will. We know he was Will the Wise, and now he is the sorcerer, which he used to be a wizard. And we also have two is deities, which is Vecna. Vecna can also be another person that also can create demi-planes, aka the Veil of Shadows or Shadowfell. And we also know from Mr. Clark, I think it's in season 1, we talk about the acrobat and flea. We talk about how you need amass amounts of energy to connect one plane of existence to another. We now understand that with 11, whenever she opened the Mother Gate, whenever she touched the Demogorgon, that was basically that amount of energy that caused the power outage of all of Hawkins. So now we know that we have the right side up, we have the Upside Down, and we know that they're connected now through 11 touching the Demogorgon in the void that opened those gates up basically. And I saw theories too talking about how Mike is the one that created Upside Down, which I could kind of see. But I will agree with the fact that Mike has predicted a lot of things, aka like is the dungeon master in like real life. He told Will he was like Vecna, which we literally saw Will become Vecna in a way. He told 11 she could fly. She literally could fly in this season. Basically, like, she could literally defy gravity. Like, okay, Elphaba, okay. And we even saw him give Holly that cleric thing, which we can see 100% in the Volume 2 trailer, that Chloe is a cleric, which in D&D can open portals in different dimensions and or different planes of existence and go through them. But the reason why I brought up imagination earlier was because 11 and the boys basically created the Upside Down. 11 was the one that connected the two planes of existence, and I think their 10-hour long D&D campaign is what made the Upside Down. Now, in the actual wiki for Stranger Things, I saw that it said 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., which is actually 12 hours, which could also correlate to the 12 children that were took. I'm not sure how true that is, but all we know in the actual show is it took them 10 hours to play this game. So I think their imagination during this time is kind of what created the Upside Down and this different plane of existence. And 11 was able to connect the planes of existence, which of course ended up getting Will kidnapped. But basically the way I see it is the Upside Down is a weak point to the right side up. It's a way for you to get to the right side up is through the Upside Down. Now this brings us on to season 5 and the whole entire time theories with the Back to the Future and all the stuff we've seen references throughout the show, which will now go on to the second part of my theory, which is the whole entire time. Y'all, I'm bringing out the whiteboard because it really is that serious. Because I need to I feel like I'm not a good explainer, so I'm just going to actually be drawing it for y'all. Okay, I don't want to hear no comments on my drawing. I don't want to hear no comments. Okay, I didn't say I was a drawer. We didn't. Don't be commenting that. So we know in season 5, time is essentially one of the biggest factors that we keep on getting hints at. We've seen throughout the show with November 6th, with the play of November 6th, Will getting kidnapped on November 6th, the gate opening November 6th. A lot happens on November 6th. Now we understand that Mr. Clark explains a wormhole is basically to get from point A to point B in space and time. And we know too that Vecna is collecting 12 children for some odd reason. Why is he collecting 12 children? To add on to that too, he collected Holly Wheeler on, well, I don't know why I'm saying collected. He basically kidnapped him. He kidnapped Holly Wheeler on the November 3rd. He kidnapped 3 more on November 4th, and he kidnapped Derek and the other 7 kids on, is that 12? Yeah. He then kidnapped Derek and the other 7 kids on November 5th. Oddly enough, that is a day before November 6th, which goes back in the whole entire November 6th timeline. But to understand this wormhole, we need to take a trip back to season 4. So we know in season 4, Vecna's main mission is getting 4 people. That's all he wants. He don't want no 12 children like this season. He just wants 4 people that have secrets he can exploit and basically snack, crackle, pop them and use them to open up a gate. Is all we know. He wants to open up a gate to the Hawkins, basically make the Upside Down bleed into Hawkins. And we know he accomplishes this at the end of season 4 whenever Max, sadly, gets taken and the final death has happened, final clock chime, the gate has now been opened into Hawkins. So let me go and draw y'all's little diagram right here. Okay, y'all, I didn't say I could draw either, so we're going to ignore this. Alright, so up here's the right side up, okay? You know the right side up is a plane of existence. It is a real, like it's a physical thing. We know what else is also physical? Dimension X, which is where Henry gets sent by 11 in the Rainbow Room whenever she opens up that other portal. Now, when Henry gets sent to Dimension X, he has to go through something. We see him fall through this different mountains, in between these 2 planes of mountains with this lightning, and that's what shocks him and turns him into Vecna. That is known as the Twin Planes or the Hellscape. So the Twin Planes is basically the distance to get from right side up to Dimension X. So that's all we basically need to know. But in November 6th, whenever 11 touched the Demogorgon in the void, she created a snapshot, is what they call it, or she froze November 6th. She basically made a demi-plane, which I don't really think is what happened. I think 11's power of her energy, the fact that she's able to go in the void, this kind of extra area, and touch a Demogorgon from Dimension X, plus the boys' imagination running wild at night, going on a 10-hour-long campaign, all thinking about this old D&D stuff, they have created the Upside Down. And where would the Upside Down be? Since it's a demi-plane, only a finite resource, the Upside Down is right between the right side up and Dimension X. So now what's going to get rid of this Twin Planes? We don't need this no more. We actually don't need this no more. You know why? Because those little kids in their little imagination now created the Upside Down. So what is the Upside Down? The Upside Down is the tunnel, y'all. It is the tunnel that is connecting the right side up and Dimension X. Now, I know this video's coming out late, and as I'm making this video, I've seen 2 other videos. I think I saw a TikTok and I've also seen a YouTube video about the same theory as mine. So y'all, I ain't claiming this theory. This is just what I've come up with. And we see too, in the season 5 volume 2 trailer, Dustin says, we have had the Upside Down wrong this whole entire time, which further helps my little theory here, if you will, because they thought this whole entire time the Upside Down was the final destination. You have the right side up and the Upside Down. But that's not it at all. You also have Dimension X. And I think this is this is the Mind Flayer's real goal, which even relates back to season 4. In season 4, we find that the Upside Down has now been connected to the right side up. We now have those 4 connections, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. We'll just do... I don't know what I was trying to do there. Anyways, we have the 4 connections. Basically, the Upside Down and right side up are completely connected. So that's one part of the puzzle solved. But what part do we need to solve? Connecting Dimension X to the Upside Down. I think that is Vecna's, Henry's, number 1, Mind Flayer. I'm just calling it Mind Flayer because I think Mind Flayer is actually the real one in control. I don't think Vecna's even, I think he's actually... I think they're actually, this little sidebar, I think in the last part of the season, they're actually going to humanize Henry, and they're going to end up trying to save him or something like that. That's a whole entire thing. Anyways, that is the Mind Flayer's goal, because the Mind Flayer, it can't get through the Twin Planes. It's too, it's not capable of doing that, going between that. So now it's basically making the connection from Dimension X to Upside Down to then invade the right side up. Now this also too would explain the barrier flesh wall. that we see around Hawkins. That is because it is literally the barrier, literally of the tunnel, which would line up with my little theory I have going on here. So basically what I'm trying to say is that upside down is the tunnel of the wormhole that we saw. The top of the wormhole is right side up. Bottom of the wormhole is the Dimension X. But this all relates back to imagination. This all relates back to the whole entire 12 kids stealing the 12 kids. But the way I'm understanding it is that Vecna, or the Mind Flayer, wants these 12 children and their imaginations and their minds, like their consciousness, to pair up with the Mind Flayer, kind of like what Wills did, and break the barrier between Dimension X and Upside Down. And I think he also wants to do this on November 6th also, which of course ties with the whole entire time thing and our whole entire story plotline, everything happening on November 6th. And I think it's also has to do too with Henry and Will both have the same birthday on March 22nd. Whenever Henry first goes missing, or whenever he gets into Dimension X, it was like his 8th or 7th birthday, I can't remember. And it was March 22nd. So I think that the Mind Flayer, Vecna, stole Will as his first very test subject. We kind of see this. He's kind of like testing it. Like he's seeing like what he can do with Will. And like we also know too, with imagination and the sorcerer and the deity can make a demi-plane, which whole entire relates back to the whole entire Upside Down, which relates back to Will being kidnapped. And like basically in my head, all this is connected. I'm not really sure if it's connecting for y'all, but I'm trying my best to explain it. And the only thing that was different between Henry and Will's Mind Flayer infection was that Will had love and Henry didn't. Everybody in Henry's life, except for Patty, kind of like shunned him and like didn't help him like understand like what was going on. Everybody in Will's life helped him fight the Mind Flayer and come to his whole entire like self-acceptance journey. But since we know that's what the problem is and like what's the solution, like how do we stop this from all happening? The best way I think to do this is to literally, like, I don't think the group is going to defeat the Mind Flayer. I don't think we're equipped for that. I don't think we can beat this consciousness of tangible thing. I think what we're going to come to realize is that we have to destroy the Upside Down. We have to destroy the bridge or connector piece from Dimension X to the right side up. And I think that's how they're actually going to save the right side up, is we have to basically uncreate the Upside Down because we're basically the ones that created it. And I think the group is first going to stop Vecna from literally connecting these two, because he already has all the 12 kids, and it's also November 5th. So I think the last half of the season is all going to take place on November 6th, day and night. Like it's all going to happen within one night, because I think that's like the only time frame he has is that 24 hours. And I think also it makes sense too that if it's over one night, if characters die, which the Duffer Brothers really have said that important characters will die, the group will not have time to grieve. It's going to be like kind of like a one night, we got to get it done kind of thing. Like we don't have time to grieve. So I think also having all the last 4 episodes all play over November 5th night to November 6th night, or November 6th or November 7th, that upcoming
6-7. I just bit right on the highway.
But I think it's going to happen between November 5th and November 7th, basically. And I also think too that if they destroy Upside Down, Vecna will get defeated, not the Mind Flayer. I think Vecna will. They're going to basically try to get the backstory of Henry, humanize Henry, and either try to save him or he's going to sacrifice himself or something. Because I don't think he can go to Dimension X again and like just live normally. Like he still will try to make contact to the right side up. So like he has to either die or sacrifice himself or something. Like he will not live. But I think the Mind Flayer, like I said, will end up surviving. I also have a couple death predictions. This includes my number one, which honestly, some people aren't going to like this, but don't hate the player, hate the game. I think it could be 11. I think it could be 11 because she is the one that created the connection between the Upside Down and the right side up. So I think she's definitely a high stakes character. It kind of started with her. I could see them ending it with her. It kind of completes her story arc in her character. Either that or she'll lose her powers. Either or. I don't see anybody, Will included, I don't see anybody walking away from this and still having powers. Like it's gonna be like a full on like you lose everything kind of thing. So either if 11 does survive, I think she'll lose her powers. But I don't think she's gonna survive, y'all. Next we have Will and Mike. I know, don't hate me. I think this ties back into a lot with them being the ones that kind of create the Upside Down, because a sorcerer can create a demi-plane, which relates back to Will. I don't think Will actually will die. I think he'll lose his powers at most, because well, actually, his only flaw kind of is he is connected to the hive mind with Vecna and them, so he's gonna have to at least lose his powers. Like I said, everybody's gonna lose their powers. Now Mike, I think we've been sleeping on Mike. I think Mike is gonna have a much bigger role than anybody actually realizes in this whole entire story, because throughout countless times we were told that Mike is the heart. Mike is the heart of the group. He is the heart. I don't know. I think he's the heart, and I think Will's the head, but that's the point. We see that big glowing red orb in the wormhole, And I think it kind of be like the heart of the wormhole, if that makes sense. Like that's kind of like it relates back to the Haunted Tower imagination and might be in the heart and the Haunted Tower upside down, create like the dungeon master. Like it just all makes sense to me. So I could see that also playing a part, being like, I don't think Mike will die either, but I think he's gonna have to like come to terms with himself, and really that's what may collapse the upside down. I've also seen on Twitter, I think Dustin and Steve. I think Dustin and Steve are fine. This could age poorly, and who knows, but I think they're fine. I think they're hinting too much at both of them being like, you die, I die thing. I don't think either of them are dying. I don't think it's happening. Now, that leads us to our final theory and conclusion. What is the Haunted Tower moral of the story? What is this Haunted Tower Stranger Things show trying to tell us? Ironically, I think it's about love. I know. I think that's what will defeat the Mind Flayer, crushed upside down, whatever. I think it will be love. We've seen the whole entire storyline of the first play with Henry talking about how it's this battle between his love with Patty, his fear and hate of the Mind Flayer. We even had the whole entire Dark of the Moon play within the play. It's about literally Joyce's actress, her character that she plays on there literally says it's a story about will fear overtake love, like will love conquer all. And I think what we see with self-acceptance also relates back to love, relates back to even Max with her love, relates even back to Nancy and Jonathan's love in season 1. Like everything, like Luis and Hopper, like not just like love with somebody else, but also love within yourself. Like I said with Max and Will, like and Robin, like that's what's gonna save the group basically. Like there's so many different parallels in the whole entire show with love and fear and hate. And it even parallels Mind Flayer's whole entire, it being like this dark Mind Flayer thing. He likes it cold, and love is the exact opposite of like light and warmth. So like, I don't know. I think it is just, I feel like that's just as cliche and as like, I don't know, like I think that really will be like what is gonna, of course, like be the underlying message of the whole entire story. Also, this video was rushed. I'm gonna tell you that right now before I gotta conclude this video. This video was rushed, and I'm so sorry for that. And I tried. Okay, I tried, and like, I know y'all, but it's been a crazy past couple weeks, so I'm trying, okay? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your theories down below. This video really is like, I don't know, like I'm trying to formulate my theory for you guys, and hopefully I kind of somewhat did that. I don't really know. Comment down below if you agree or have questions. I can try my best to explain, like, further explain what I'm trying to do, because I am a better writer than I am a speaker, so like, I can actually write it out better to you than actually speak it. But yeah, this video was a little rushed. I'm sorry about that, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and next time I see you guys, I will see you in the year of 2026. This is the last video of 2025, and yeah, this was a good year, and I'm hoping that next year we're going to be even more consistency times 2, and I'm going to have even better and funner videos. So see you guys then.